When their helicopter landed south of Benghazi, it was during the thick of night, and I think they thought that they would go unnoticed then, but eventually they were received really by residents and rebels who basically heard the noise of the helicopter, and as they got off the helicopter, there was an exchange of gunfire between the two sides that lasted about 10 to 15 minutes. Now, we're told that the rebels really wanted to catch these people because they didn't know who was landing in the middle of the night like that. And on the other side, apparently they were trying not to hurt the rebels, not to get entangled into an even more difficult position. So apparently that gunfire lasted about 15 minutes until the rebels got hold of these 8 people.
Algeria's president is coming under more pressure, this time from some 10,000 police officers. They've marched to the parliament, demanding better pay and directing their anger at President Abdelaziz Bouteflika. A tenth of the entire auxiliary police force took part. The force works in rural areas. Egypt's caretaker prime minister says restoring security in the shortest possible time is a priority for his government. Issam Sharaf spoke to journalists hours after a new-look cabinet was sworn in. Meanwhile, Egypt's prosecutor has ordered the detention of 47 police officers for burning documents at several state security headquarters. Tunisia's interim Prime Minister Baji Qaid Sabsi has unveiled his new cabinet after a spate of resignations. It'll be the third caretaker government since the overthrow of Zain al-Abidine bin Ali in January. Nazneen Moshiri has more from Tunis.
It was billed as a new beginning. But the interim Prime Minister Baji Qaid Sabsi admitted the key positions in government will remain the same. The difference now, a promise that not one member of the cabinet will stand in the next election, and security will be a priority.
We wanted it to be a caretaker government, but more importantly, a government which saves the country from this predicament.
One of the first moves of this new government, the dismantling of the so-called political police, filmed here by AlJazeera. A force which harassed and spied on Tunisians for so many years. The Ministry of Interior announcement came on its Facebook page. It just shows you how times have changed in Tunisia. This once hated institution is now using the same social sites which helped in the uprising to get its own message across. It's not clear how members of this once powerful security force will now react. The Prime Minister says this is a dangerous period for the country. His challenge now to take Tunisia to the next election and deliver the democracy people here fought and died for. Nazneen Moshiri, AlJazeera, Tunis.
Now, South Sudan's been hit by a spate of killings with more than 50 dead in 2 days. Southern soldiers are fighting 2 separate rebel groups in Jonglei and Upper Nile State. All sides have suffered casualties, and it's unclear how many civilians have died in the crossfire. Such violence continues to plague the south, which officially becomes a new country in July. Only 4 days ago, 33 people were killed in the disputed Abyei region. Pro-government forces in Somalia have taken control of a strategic town in the west of the country. An official says rebel Al-Shabaab fighters abandoned the town of Luk on Monday morning without putting up a fight. It's being presented as a victory for the new transitional government, which has now been in place for 100 days. Vigilante groups loyal to Côte d'Ivoire's disputed president say they'll do whatever it takes to keep him in power. Gangs have been looting homes of opposition members. Others have set up roadblocks in Abidjan. They've been giving their side of the story to Mohamed Ado.
Ruling the streets of Abidjan, young men take matters into their own hands. Hundreds of them pouring into the streets, setting up roadblocks and searching drivers. They say they're here to help the police and army ensure that Laurent Gbagbo remains the president of their country. Their loyalty to the man is unshakable.
We shall die to protect Gbagbo, and we are doing this to defend the constitution of Côte d'Ivoire. Ouattara is going against the very constitution he voted for.
They take nothing to chance. Nothing misses their attention, and they don't mind who they upset.
I don't appreciate their attitude. I urge them to be polite as they go about what they're doing.
These young men say that their work on the streets has largely been successful and that they managed to nab a number of firearms destined for the rebels in the north. They are also under stern instructions to ensure that the movement of UN personnel here in the capital is curtailed.
The UN forces have shown they are not impartial. They are biased. They are responsible for what is happening in Côte d'Ivoire. They have been arming and transporting rebels.
Conditions continue to worsen for civilians as the violence spirals. At least 200,000 people have been displaced, particularly from Abidjan, according to the United Nations. More than 360 people have also died since November. It's a toll that's bound to rise even higher if the current political crisis continues. Mohamed Ado, AlJazeera, Abidjan.
Meanwhile, Laurent Gbagbo has nationalized the cocoa industry in a new twist to the political turmoil. State television announced the government will be sole purchaser, buying the beans from farmers at a price it sets. Many private exporters who back his rival Alassane Ouattara have cut back their purchases. As well as affecting global supplies, it's hit Gbagbo financially as he depends heavily on the trade. Rallies have been taking place in Jordan, with the country's Minister for Media joining journalists protesting against his own government. That story's coming up. And the lowest popularity numbers on record in Japan, why the Prime Minister is under so much pressure.
As the dry condition extends over Amritsar, we'll find the right flavour to tempt your palate.
Hello once again. We've got another winter storm making its way across the United States. Now, over the last couple of days, we've seen this particular storm system easing further eastwards. Eastern thirds had some awful weather. That's going to continue drifting a little further eastwards. New England seeing some of the wintry flurries as we go on through the next 24 hours or so into eastern parts of Canada. It will only make way for the next storm system, which is currently pushing its way across the Rockies. And as we go on through Tuesday, then we'll see that wintry weather diving its way over the mountain states, pushing right the way towards the prairies. Very wet weather also affecting southernmost parts by this stage. So some poor conditions to come for many. Meanwhile, it should be drier over towards the eastern side of the country, even drier too over towards the west. But just notice there'll be some wintry weather just around the Pacific Northwest into western Canada. Rain, sleet and snow to come here then. We got some rain to come into Central America, southern parts of Central America, just around Nicaragua. That aside, it's fine and dry. The Caribbean looking lovely. Temperatures getting up to 27, 28 degrees. Plenty of pleasant sunshine to come. Good deal of sunshine too into much of Europe, but for the southeastern corner, a return to winter. It's very cold here. There'll be more snow to come. Athens with a top temperature of 6.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
A debilitating condition afflicting millions of women across the developing world.
Sometimes it is not possible to cure